There is a huge update coming to Amazon KDP that could see the end of low content publishing. I don't think I'm over-exaggerating when I say that this update is probably the biggest update I've seen since I've been self-publishing. That's over 5 years. So this morning I woke up to an email from Amazon KDP saying that they're changing the royalties on printed books. This is a screenshot of the email here. So I don't know if you've received this email yet. If you self-publish on Amazon KDP, there's every chance you've already had this or you're going to get it very soon. But I'm going to break it down and look at what it means for self-publishers. So it says here, for the first time since starting print operations almost 20 years ago, on June 10th, 2025, Amazon are going to change the royalty rate for books priced below certain list prices. So how Amazon works is, say you price your book at $10, there'll be a printing cost, and then out of what's left, Amazon will take a percentage and you'll get a percentage. And that percentage that you got was 60%. Now that's being reduced to 50%. Amazon go on to say that these books represent a unique challenge given increasing operational costs, and this change will allow us to continue offering these books while avoiding an impact to other titles. So what I think it's doing is Amazon's cracking down on low content books. Books that sell for $6, $7, $8 probably don't make Amazon that much money, and I'd imagine they're a bit of a pain to fulfill, ship, and as it says there, a bit of an impact on the operational costs. What it does go on to say is that as part of our annual review, we are reducing colour printing costs for paperbacks in some marketplaces to help authors adopt colour printing. So again, another hint that Amazon are trying to push publishers, especially in the kind of low and medium content spaces, to creating higher quality colour interior paperbacks. Now coming down to the specifics, on June 10th, we'll reduce the royalty rates for print books from 60 to 50% for books priced below $9.99 in the US, $9.99 in Europe, $7.99 in the UK, $13.99 in Canada, $13.99 in Australia, and then you've got 3 other marketplaces there as well. Books with list prices below those amounts will see a reduction in the royalty, whereas books above those figures will continue to get the 60% royalty rate, so nothing would change if your book is priced above those figures. Now, this is an absolutely huge update. If you're creating really high quality books and pricing them at a higher price point, this doesn't really affect you. But it affects so many self-publishers out there, especially people who are selling notebooks, journals, colouring books, activity books. Publishers who are probably pricing their books below that $9.99 figure in the US. Going into the print cost reductions, Amazon are bringing down the print costs on regular and large trim size paperbacks in standard colour on Amazon.com, and then also the same for premium colour, but in .co.uk and across European marketplaces. So they're not actually reducing the printing costs that much, and they're not doing it in that many territories either. So just to sum up the changes, the royalty rate is dropping from 60 to 50% on books below $9.99 in the US, $9.99 in Europe, and $7.99 in the UK. Printing costs are reduced for standard colour in the .com marketplace, and printing costs are reduced for premium colour in the UK and part of Europe. What it does as well is it also impacts the minimum list price for your books. So let's say you're trying to sell a really cheap notebook for $4.99 on the US, you might not be able to do that anymore. The minimum list price might increase to $5.99. So you need to be aware of the minimum list price when you're publishing, as well as how much royalty you'll now get below those thresholds. So what this actually means for self-publishers like you and I. If you have books priced below that threshold, you're going to make less money per sale. Books that are printed in colour will see a small discount in the printing costs. I'll come on to some examples of these later on. But the key point here is books like colouring books, activity books, basically any lower medium content books that are priced below that $9.99 threshold are going to see a massive reduction in royalties. So you might be wondering to yourself, how do I know which books are affected? You might have hundreds of books, you might have 1,000 books. All you need to do is go onto your KDP bookshelf and there'll be this bit at the top letting you know about the update, and then also an option to download a spreadsheet with all of your affected books. So I did this And out of 158 of my books, 122 will be affected by this royalty change. That's a load of my books. So people out there who are thinking, maybe it's not a big deal, I'll just leave it and see how it goes. It's a huge change on Amazon. I've gone through some example royalties, which I'll share with you in a little bit. And if I wasn't to update my prices, I could see my income halving after June 10th. That's how dramatic a change this could be. So when you go to change the price of your books or you're publishing a new book, you'll see this additional section underneath the pricing. So at least Amazon are letting you know about the changes and giving you the figures there in your pricing section on Amazon. But you can see there, this book that's listed for $8.99, it was getting me a royalty of $2.39 every sale. After June 10th, that's going to go down to $1.49. So that's 90 cents less per sale. I need that royalty because I run ads. I need that royalty to pay for my subscriptions. So that reduction in royalty by 90 cents is huge. So my option here would be to increase the price of this book to $9.99, or else I'm going to have to suffer that 90-cent hit. And then in the UK there, you've got the exact same thing. You need to list it for $7.99 or above, or you're going to see a reduction in royalty too. And the annoying thing about the UK and Europe is that they add on VAT. So you can see there, the list price is $7.99, but I'm still getting 50% royalty rather than 60% royalty. So I'd have to increase it to $7.99, which means the price including VAT would be something like $8.69. Then I will get my full 60% royalty. So I'd imagine that this change is going to see a massive shift in pricing strategies on Amazon KDP. So this is what you can do. For your books that have standard and premium colour inside them, generally they need to be priced a bit higher anyway because the printing costs are higher. So most of these should already be above that threshold. And if they're not, just go back in and update those books. I don't think we'll see too much of an impact on the colour interior books because people are used to paying a slightly higher price point for those books. So just go into your bookshelf and make sure that they're priced at least at $9.99 in the US and hitting the threshold in other countries as well. For your black and white books, especially the lower priced ones, that's where we're going to feel a hit. And so you've got three options of what you can do. One, you can leave the book as is at the same price point because you know it sells, but your royalty per sale is going to massively reduce. Depending on what you're priced at and what your royalty is, you can see it drop anywhere between 10 to 50%. Some books might even drop to a zero royalty, which means you would make nothing from every sale. So you definitely need to go into your bookshelf and make sure your books are updated. Which leads us into option two. You can increase the price maybe by $1 or £1 or €1 to offset additional costs. Now I tried this on some of my books and increasing the cost by $1 and £1 didn't even offset the change in royalty. So passing that $1, that £1 extra on to the purchaser means I'm still making a loss on my royalties. So let's say I've got a colouring book for $6.99 and it's making me $1.50 per sale. If I update that to $7.99, I'm now only making $1.25 per sale. So that's one option if you don't want to go all the way up to the threshold. You're likely going to make less royalty, but your books will probably still sell at the slightly inflated fee. And then the third option is increasing your prices to the threshold. So that's $9.99 in the US, $7.99 in the UK. That way, you're going to get a high royalty like you've been getting so far. Now, what I thought might be interesting, if I go through some example book prices and see what the royalty was compared to what it will be, that'll give you a good idea with your books. So starting off with black and white interiors, because I think that's where the majority of people are going to be hit quite hard with this update. Here's an example of a book that I've listed for $9.99. It's 120 pages, black and white, in an 8.5 by 11 inch format. So imagine a large print colouring book. So on Amazon, it's listed for $9.99. The minimum list price is $5.07. Printing cost is $3.04, which means I would get an estimated royalty of $2.95. Now, because this is at that threshold of $9.99, after June the 10th, the royalty would stay the same. But the one change here is that minimum list price is now $6.08. So the minimum list price has increased by $1 for this book. But then when you come down to the other marketplaces, if you're not adjusting those, the UK, for example, there at £7.51, I would have been making a royalty of £2.22. After June the 10th, that royalty would go down to £1.47. So I'd probably go and adjust that price to make sure I'm hitting the £7.99 threshold. But in terms of books priced at £9.99, you won't see that much of a difference. The major difference will come below that price point. So this second book example is priced at £9.98. And this is what some of my books annoyingly are priced at. They're priced at £9.95, £9.98, just to try and undercut the competition by a few cents. And you can see the massive impact of these. So pricing a book at £9.98, I was getting a royalty of £2.95 in the US. After June 10th, that royalty will drop down to $1.95. So $1 less just because it's priced 1 cent below that threshold. So if you've got any books priced at $9.95, $9.98, make sure you go in and update them to $9.99. Coming down to a cheaper book. So this book is priced at $7.99. It's the same format, the same amount of pages. And prior to June 10th, you'd be getting a royalty of $1.75. After June 10th, your royalty will go down to 96 cents. So your royalty is almost halved. And that's why I say that if I don't change anything, my income might even half. Because a lot of my books, especially the black and white ones, are priced at this lower sort of price point. And that's because there's a lot of competition out there and you can't just go in with everything and price it at $9.99 or above. For things like colouring books, especially ones that aren't hand illustrated, you can't really charge premium prices. So these lower priced books are going to be where the majority of the issues come in for self-publishers. Now just having a quick look at the standard colour changes. So this is a $9.99 book in standard colour and at 72 pages, which is the minimum amount of pages. On the .com marketplace, the royalty for this book would be $1.97. And after June the 10th, it'll be the exact same. Again, the only thing that's changed here is that minimum list price. But let's say you've got a standard colour interior book listed for $8.99. That's where you're going to see some massive changes. So this book was getting me a royalty of $1.37. After June the 10th, it's going to get me a royalty of 47 cents. Now, if you're running things like ads, that's just a complete no-go. You need to have a decent royalty on your books in order to have that flexibility to run ads, as well as pay your bills. So the easy option for this is just to increase it to $9.99. And now just having a quick look at the premium colour changes. So a lot of premium colour on Amazon KDP are shorter books like children's books. So I've gone for a 35-page premium colour book in 8.5 by 8.5. That's pretty standard for children's picture books. On the .com marketplace at $9.99, you'd get an estimated royalty of $1.79. And again, that wouldn't change after June the 10th. But the minimum list price now has gone up to $8.40. And I don't think you'd be listing any premium colour interiors below $9.99. So I don't think you need to worry about that too much. Just make sure that your premium colour books are listed above the threshold. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't see a printing cost reduction across any of those listings. And so I've just done a little calculation of my own here based on what Amazon KDP have told us. So on the premium colour print prices there, you can see that the print costs are reducing ever so slightly. And on the standard colour options in the US, again, it's doing the same. So I've just done a quick calculation to see how much money we could be saving on the printing costs. And in the US, let's say we do a standard colour interior at 80 pages with a large trim size. Before, it would cost you $0.042 per page, which means that it would cost you $3.36 to print. The updated rate means it's $0.0402, which means for those 80 pages, it's going to cost us $3.22. So that's a saving of 14 cents on the printing cost for the standard colour option. So it goes nowhere near offsetting the change in royalty. But I'm not too worried about the standard and premium colour options. As mentioned, I think black and white interiors are where we're really going to struggle with this update. My thoughts on the matter are that it effectively kills low-priced publishing. I actually think it's a bit of a strategic move from Amazon to stop people flooding the marketplace with low-priced notebooks, low-priced journals, poor quality, low-priced colouring books. And if that's all you're selling, you're going to need to rethink your strategy on Amazon. It also makes it quite hard to price competitively in the UK and in Europe. And that's because Amazon also adds on a tax. So you need to set the minimum price at $7.99 in the UK, but then that would appear at $8.69, for example. And then in Europe, it's $9.99 minimum to get your 60% royalty. but that's going to appear at $10.79 or whatever. And psychologically, especially in Europe at that $9.99 price point, it's nice to try and keep the price below that €10 threshold, which if you want to get your full royalty, you're not going to be able to do anymore. So what I think you should be doing is making bigger, better books and listing them at or above those thresholds. I don't think I'm going to be making any books anymore below those thresholds. I just don't think it's worth it for the royalty you'll receive. And as mentioned, I think all colour interiors, that's standard and premium, should be priced at or above that threshold. So an absolutely huge update on Amazon KDP. It's a very interesting time for self-publishing, but this is going to be really hard for a lot of people. Now, if you're new to the channel, I do regular monthly income reports. So if you're interested in how this is going to affect my sales, how it's going to affect my royalties, you can find out how it affects me every single month. But if you're a little bit worried about the changes and you don't really know what to do, I offer a one-to-one consultation on my website. If you go to my website, which is publishwithme.com, you can book in a 35-minute or a 60-minute consultation with me where I can talk you through what to do with your pricing. So I know I've built this up as a huge update because it is, but don't panic. What I would say is that it should shift your strategy with publishing. I've been talking about shifting towards higher quality books for quite a long time now. And all this does is it makes that even more important. Because if you're looking at publishing a minimum viable product and pricing it at $5.99, you're just not going to make any money at all now. So I think that's pretty much off the table in terms of self-publishing. Whereas what you want to be doing is creating more colouring pages, better activity books, adding more value for the customer in order to be able to price it effectively at the higher price points. So what do you think of the changes? Drop a comment down below and let's get a discussion going for this community as well. Thanks for checking out the video. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.